Since I last spoke about this computer, I have made a lot of progress with it, and I'm very pleased with the results. Hello there everyone, it's UXW Bill here once again with a video and a status update on this 486DX4100 MHz computer system. The first thing that I have taken care of, I have gone ahead and sorted out the mess that was the operating system. This machine now has a proper copy of MS-DOS 6.22 loaded on it and ready for use. I've also gone ahead and loaded all the needed device drivers to support the hardware. I've gone ahead and optimized the system's main memory, and basically this thing is pretty much ready to play. I've gone ahead and taken care of some other hardware related issues as well. For starters, I went ahead and I populated all the blank slot areas with the proper covers. Now, unfortunately, my collection of slot covers is highly diverse and not all of them match. I'm just content to have them in place. I'm not so picky as to think that they must all look the same. As long as they are in place and keeping things from wandering into or out of the computer case or preventing excessive dust bunny collection, I'm happy. I did find out, and I said in my first video, that this board looked awfully cheap. In fact, I thought it looked even cheaper than well-known cheap motherboard manufacturer PC Chips would even produce. And it turns out I was right in a fashion. This is actually a PC Chips board, and its onboard write-back cache is completely fake. I was mildly surprised to learn this, but oh well, you can't have everything. And for a machine like this, it really doesn't matter too much. I've gone ahead and installed more memory in the computer. I went and borrowed a SIM out of an IBM Aptiva PS1 Pentium something or another that I haven't yet gotten to as a project and may in fact part out depending on its condition when I actually do get to messing with it. And as luck would have it, the SIM is an exact match to what was in there. The chips all have the same numbers and speed ratings on them, so everything is good on that front as well. And something I just had to share with you because my luck is never this good. This machine does not have a PS2 port. It has a serial port, and I certainly don't have any method by which to add a PS2 port to it. In fact, I'm not sure that PS2 port cards were ever offered separately for a machine like this. So the simple and expedient thing to do is simply to use a serial mouse, which of course I knew that I had a serial mouse somewhere, the operative word being somewhere. I really expected that I would end up shaving quite a few minutes off of my life with ranting and raving of all sorts while I ran about the house like a madman looking for a serial mouse. Sometimes I just have to say, fate smiles. One room away from here, and right out in plain sight, I found a Kensington mouse in a box. What a name for a product. Serial and PS2 version, and what's more, it even has the PS2 adapter in place with it. Well, it did have until I disconnected it. So now, I've got a working mouse on this system as well. It's really made some impressive progress since the last time you have all seen it. The only thing that's really left to take care of now, I have noticed that sometimes this processor fan slows down. Although it never rumbles, I think it may be suffering from dried out bearings. I should also probably put some heatsink compound between processor and heatsink, though it doesn't ever seem to overheat. In fact, this system actually runs cooler than I ever remember the AMD 486DX4100 microprocessor running back when I used one regularly in the 1990s. In my adventures with this system, and amongst many other snags, I hit one particularly interesting snag when it came to attempting to enable the CD-ROM drive to play back compact disc audio from its onboard decoder. You see, there is a 4-pin connector on the back of this CD-ROM drive that would connect via a cable that was once commonplace to a matching 4-pin connector right there on the sound card. When I hooked this up, everything went south. The CD-ROM drive quit working. Most of the time its device driver would still find it, but attempting to actually use it resulted in all kinds of interesting problems and device not ready error messages. No DOS CD player that I found could actually operate the drive. I don't know why this is. All I know for sure is that the original owner of the system actually left the CD audio cable out as well. So maybe there's something slightly broken, maybe there's a pinout mismatch somewhere. It's hard to tell, and I have plenty of perfectly fine purpose-built CD players, so I really don't need this thing to ever play CD audio. The sound card that's in this system is worthy of some special mention because it is a very nice model. It is a genuine Creative Sound Blaster Advanced Wave Effects, or AWE64. In addition to being able to perform some basic digital effects on audio signals that are going into the card also boasts a wavetable synthesizer, and you can actually see, partially right there, the sample memory for the wavetable synthesizer. In addition to the wavetable synthesizer, it also has a conventional FM synthesizer, and as used to be common on sound cards, there is also a connection for unamplified speakers that is powered by an audio amplifier chip that you can see right there, or you could until the autofocus kind of lost the plot. So with all of these hardware details out of the way, let's have a demonstration of this machine. I think I'll go ahead and kick the demonstration off with a little exhibition of the capabilities of this particular audio card. And for those of you who are really paying attention, you'll notice that my typing sounds nothing like an IBM Model M, as this computer has a 5-pin DIN keyboard port, and I don't know where my 5-pin DIN Model M keyboard cable is. I'm using a Tandy enhanced keyboard for the purposes of this demonstration, and actually completely bypassing my KVM switch, although the monitor signals are still routed through it. So I'll go ahead and run the utility here, and you can see that it says what it is, says what it does, and when I press enter, it will actually go ahead and perform a number of fairly boring tests to check the hardware for sanity and make sure the basic configuration is good, that no important resources needed by the card are being stomped on by other hardware. You see, what I'm playing with here is actually very early days yet in the days of plug-and-play technology. So even though this card is a plug-and-play ISA device, it still had to get along in a system that might well not have been plug-and-play aware, and with other hardware that wasn't plug-and-play aware either. So you'd have to know where things were in the system to avoid stomping on them and choose settings that were able to be used by this card. I'm going to say no to testing the dynamic memory, and it'll proceed to run a couple of other tests before it finally goes ahead and actually takes me to a testing menu here. And here's that testing menu right now, which hopefully you can see. Now I've got the autofocus overridden on ye old candy ham, but the last time I did this with the Packard Bell 386SX, even though I let the autofocus figure it out and then switched to manual focus to lock in the settings, it didn't actually focus correctly, and it looked okay on the viewfinder. It looks okay now. Hopefully it'll be okay when I upload this to YouTube. But there's a couple of tests that can be run here. You can test 8-bit digitized sound in the left, right, or both channels. I'll go ahead and check both channels here. 8-bit testing. Wow, that guy sounds very excited about 8-bit testing, doesn't he? We'll go ahead and do the 16-bit test. 16-bit testing. And then the synthesized music. Now, synthesized music in this case is actually a bit of an oversimplification. This test utilizes the card's onboard FM synthesizer, which back in the day was usually a Yamaha OPL3 chip. Go ahead and stop that test. I don't think that FM synthesis necessarily sounds bad. In fact, there are some very cool things that can be done with it. Yet wavetable synthesized music, such as that which you are about to hear, is quite a bit more realistic. As I'm sure you can tell, you'll notice there was even a bit of a reverberation effect there, which I believe is something that is specific to the Advanced Wave Effects processing engine. Now, if I go ahead and break out of this utility, and it helps to use the right keys to do that, I'll be thrown back to the DOS prompt and I'll demonstrate another program that makes sound. This is just kind of a fun one. I have mentioned before in some of my previous videos that many computer games really do not do any kind of a job of holding my attention, mainly because I don't like to do things that other people have decided are somehow fun or entertaining, and I don't find puzzles authored by others to be all that amusing. This game was a notable exception. From the first time I ever saw a copy of this, I was hooked upon it. In fact, I beat this in the strangest of places. My mother was actually having the Black Plague van worked on under warranty, and I had brought my laptop with me, the old Compaq LTE 5000 that I hope to make a video about in the future. I beat this game while I was waiting for them to finish up their work with the van and return it to her. Now, some of you will probably know what this game is already based on the directory name that I have gone ahead and changed to. For those who don't, I won't give it away just yet, but I will say that this is a revised version of the game that I don't know if a lot of people have seen. The first version that I ever played had, I think, EGA level graphics, 16 to 64 colors at the most, and while it did play music on the sound card, it also had a copyright check built in. I know there was a cracked version being circulated that would accept any 4-digit number for the year check that the program ran at startup. This is a revised version with MCGA graphics, or 256 color graphics, and the copyright check has actually been removed. This was actually bundled with a whole collection of games that were given to me in a boxed set by someone who was getting rid of, can you believe it, an old computer. So I'll go ahead and run this here just to give you kind of a demonstration of the sound. Now, the sound that you'll hear in this program is actually completely FM synthesized. Creative hints in the manual for the Sound Blaster AWE64 that there is some kind of a software shim that may be used to direct the FM synthesis requests that an otherwise unaware of the AWE's extra hardware capabilities program would otherwise make. I haven't seen that software shim. I don't know where it is. I'll go ahead and start the program up here and just let you have a little taste of the music that it plays. It's a very well scored game. The music is very nicely done. Now, if you didn't want to see that whole introduction, you could choose to skip past it with the escape key, just like I did right there. Now, the gameplay of this particular game, oh, look at that, there's my mouse pointer, isn't that lovely? It is a little bit different than games that you'd play on a computer today. This game operates largely on two methods of navigation, a sort of verb-noun approach where you choose from a list of actions down here and you apply them to an object. For example, you can see I'm approaching the scum bar, and an appropriate action would be to open the door. And of course the game makes sounds to reflect a door opening. And then if I click on that, you'll notice it has changed back to walk to. If I click on that, I'll actually walk in to the scum bar, and the music starts playing. Now, there are people in here that if you're playing the game normally, you're supposed to talk to. There's also one advertisement hidden in here if you ever do play the game. That's the nice thing about these old DOS games, and I find this missing in a lot of newer ones. They're genuinely funny. These games have a sense of humor. For example, take this conversation that I'm having with the dog here. That's actually pretty funny if you ask me. I realize this might not hold the attention of the Twitter set. That's the other method of gameplay in this game. You talk to various characters, and by doing so, you can actually learn various things. Now, there are other people I should be talking to in here, but I'll go ahead and leave just so you can see one of the cutscenes. Every now and again, these come along to give you more of the backstory of the game. And again, you'll see the sense of humor exhibited by the game's programmers in this little skit. After witnessing that scene, of course, you return to normal gameplay. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and play this entire game here or even do a walkthrough. I just wanted to give you a taste of one of the things that I have in mind for this computer. So I'll go ahead and quit that game. And then there's something else I'll go ahead and demonstrate here. Now, the software that you see on the video right now is a program known as Cubic Player. Cubic Player is a program that can play mod files, amongst other things. I'm really rather new to the whole mod file scene and things like that. In fact, this software actually came to me by way of fellow YouTuber Max Arcade. I saw him demonstrate it in one of his videos, thought that it looked kind of cool, and asked him if he would zip it up and send me a copy, which he did. And it came with a couple of these songs like you see on the screen here, including a rather interesting reworking of the old 2 Unlimited song, Get Ready for This, which I think you just have to hear to believe. Of course, there are many, many of these songs that people assembled over the years. I do know that much. I think I can say that much without being worried about being wrong. And in fact, another fellow YouTuber, V Westlife, actually demonstrated a track from a CD collection that, as someone soon told me, was available for download and burning to CD from the always amazing Internet Archive. In fact, I'll go ahead and post a link at some point in the video description, so if you'd like to play with it as well on an older computer system or a newer computer system, basically anything that could play this kind of music, you can certainly go ahead and do so. And rather than use the player software that came on the CD, although I did set it up, I'll just go ahead and use the Cubic Player since I'm actually in it now. In fact, I actually somewhat customized this CD to include the stuff from Max Arcade in this directory and the stuff that normally shipped with the CD in the music directory. So if I go in there, I can actually pick a mod file to listen to, and I'll just select one and put it on here in a little bit. This is actually giving the CD-ROM drive quite a workout. As it seeks through all of these tracks and loads the information about them, I can actually hear it zipping around in the background, and the busy light just flashes on and off like crazy. But here's a nice little tune, the Canon in D. There do remain a couple of minor issues to iron out with this computer. First of all, I'll have to put the cover back on it. Second of all, I need to figure out what should be done to get the turbo button working properly. As things are right now, pressing the turbo button results in a change on the display, and it also results in the turbo LED going out. However, it does not result in any processor speed change, and I'm not totally sure why. This is a 3-pin connector ordinarily, however the PC chip's motherboard only has 2 jumper pins for assertion of the turbo enable switch. I have tried putting a plain old jumper on there and leaving it on, leaving it off, seeing if it would change the clock speed, and it has not done so. In time, I'm sure I will be running more software on this machine, but for now, I've kept you watching this for nearly 20 minutes, and I think it's time to call it quits. So thank you very much for watching, and feel free to leave a comment if you have one.